What's up, guys? I want to talk about something a little bit abstract, but just give my thoughts on it and just what I want to do. The point of me doing this video, in particular, is to just get, hopefully, if somebody watches it, to make them think about things in a different perspective. So, I I I'm gonna say something that's really weird, and it's gonna sound really weird. Um, but just bear with me on it, and I'll explain where I'm going, and it will explain a decent amount, maybe about me. Like, I know that I'm weird, and I know that I come across as weird. You know what I mean? I know that I'm aware of how I'm presenting myself. Do you know? Or I think I am, at least. Um, and that's kind of the whole point of me doing it, is to become. Is it helps me if I do it, and I really don't watch my own videos at all. But just doing it kind of makes me see who I am, because I'm just being myself. Do you know what I mean? And I need to say this as well, and this is a bit of an admission that I shouldn't probably say, because you never want to, what is it? I don't know what the phrase is, but I am, like, I'm like this normally. I'm not putting on an act. I'm not trying to be anything. But one thing that I am doing is I'm making it a little bit more socially acceptable. So I'm talking about terrible shit, but I'm talking about it with the with the pretense, kind of, in the way that I present it, that it's completely socially acceptable. Do you know what I mean? And I'm aware that I'm doing that. I'm doing it on purpose. Just kind of partly for efficiency's sake, just to be able to talk about it and just move on to the next thing. Do you know what I mean? And so I do skip over some emotions when I talk. And so it's kind of like I'm doing like a bit of a salesy thing, but it's just like I'm not changing what I'm saying. I'm just changing how I'm saying it. You know what I mean? Hopefully that makes sense. I'm sure it makes sense to me. So, well, actually, no. The question is, I wonder who that makes sense to, because there's people that won't make sense to, for sure, and there's people that will make sense to, I'm sure. Anyways, so what I want to talk about, though, is people, or like someone's ability to change how they perceive the world. You know what I mean? Like, I think there's many different kinds of people in the world, and I'm not going to narrow it down to two kinds, but I think two kinds that I know of, or two kind of traits that some people have, are, as far as changing their world perspective. I think some people view their perspective and view themselves as, and I'm not saying either of these are wrong, because they both have their merit, but just bear with me here. So some people, they take everything they've learned, kind of, and they base their perspective on things that they know, or things that they think they know is true. And another type of person And these are, I'm labeling extremes, and I'm sure everybody falls, there's a spectrum, and people have a little bit of both, and some people have more one than the other, but still have the other, or, do you know what I mean? And then another type of person, actually, I can break this down into a few things. I think some people base their perception of reality on the past. Some people base their perception of reality in the present, and some people base their perception of reality on the future, or the perceived future, perceived past, and perceived present, if you want to get fucking into it. So, I I'm not qualified to talk about this. Well, no, I shouldn't say that. These are just my thoughts, obviously. So, I'm totally open to being wrong in this. It's just my philosophical view on it. Do you know what I mean? So, and I want to know, like if I could, I don't know. Yeah, I guess I would have to be better. One thing that's been troubling me, I should say, is my channel has not grown a single bit in a long, long time, and I can't help but think, like, after all that, I must be. But my videos still get views. Like, it's a weird thing, and so I gotta say, like, I don't expect me to get any. Like, if I were to come across my videos, I wouldn't subscribe to my channel, and that's a shitty thing to say. Do you know what I mean? And I'm really, that, like, insults all my viewers. But what it also does is it makes me appreciate my viewers all that much more, because, I can totally see myself. I can totally see this channel being made fun of. I put myself out there and I say some controversial things. Whether I make mistakes or whatever, but and so and I think, like, oh man, what if people watch it and they just think he's lost his mind, or he's a lunatic, or, you know what I mean? And so I'm in this kind of pattern, and I don't want to be in it, where I'm, like, kind of defending myself to the channel, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to, like, because all that is, it's just my perceived, like, it's my insecurities that I'm putting on people, the imaginary people or not imaginary, but the people I imagine are watching my videos. I implant my own insecurities into how I think they're viewing my channel, you know what I mean? And so then I kind of go down and then the next video that I want to make, I throw in some things, and I get defensive, and I'm like defending against my own insecurities, is my point. Which goes back to my main point of this, is how do people change their perspective? And what's a very good way, I should say, a very good way of changing your perspective is becoming aware of your insecurities, and becoming aware of the things that you think are need to change about yourself. And that's a good way of putting it, because there's no, it's not a good way of putting it. The things that you can change to more adapt kind of to the surroundings that you're in, I think that's a better way of putting it. Because I don't know if insecurities is the best. It's like I wouldn't say it's like the ultimate thing in, progressing someone's perspective. But what it does is it opens yourself up to your own kind of what's it called? I'll just put it simply. It just allows you to be more honest with yourself. I guess that's the best way of putting it. And so what that does is if you're able to be honest with yourself, then that helps you to see the world in a more clear light. If you know what I mean. So because now this is like the problem with me talking about this, and I'm completely aware of this because I've talked to so many people about philosophical stuff, and I really am of the mind that people will understand things that they're ready to understand. And like if I'm talking to someone and they're describing a situation, and let's say I've been through that situation 900 times, and they're just coming across it for the first time, and they're talking to me like, oh, and they tell me all the things that they're struggling with that situation. I've been through it 900 times. Like, for me to talk to them and give advice to them from my perspective that has been through it 900 times, it's not as effective as talking to them from the perspective of having done it once, but with the experience of having done it 900 times. Do you know what I mean? So an example of that, or just kind of a quick summary of that, for you, if you didn't get the point, is, and I don't mean that like an asshole, is a good summary of that is, a good way of putting it, like, they'll just get overwhelmed, and it'll just be way too much information. They won't be ready to learn all that. They won't be, and so, I'm not giving myself a free pass, I notice myself, rationalizing to make myself right sometimes, and I'm aware of it, that I do it. I'm like, oh fuck, I just rationalized, for myself just to be right, so I'm good, but I really, I know it's weird, maybe it probably sounds weird to people, but I'm like, I live for that shit. I love that shit, finding that shit out about myself, and I change it. I'm like, no, I was, I'm very honest and very kind of, I'm a little bit too, fucking, I try to be perfect too much. You know what I mean? Philosophically perfect. I need to see things from the perfect philosophical way. And it's, part of it is, I can't really get down on myself about it, because part of it is, a bit of a coping mechanism, I think, in dealing with things, because to have a strong sense of, to have a strong philosophical view on things, allows me to have more stability with with whatever I'm dealing with. Do you know what I mean? And so I'm dealing with kind of I'll just say this, I'm dealing with a more extreme situation than I would ever want to be dealing with. So it helps to have a little bit of grounding, and that has definitely helped me with that, because it's given me it's like a touchstone. It's like, okay, there is sanity. I watch some informational, not a lot, maybe once a week or something, but I watch these kind of philosophical videos if I see them on YouTube or whatever, and they're really interesting, because it's not interesting, that's the wrong word. I just like watching them. They're cathartic, or whatever the word is. It's just like a touchstone to reality, and a touchstone to okay, there's logic in this world. Thank you God, thank you whoever the fuck, I don't care, because I think I've spent so much. I'll tell you a weird story. I have a weird thing. Like I'm. No, I'm just going off on a ramble. I was just going to tell you that I was going to give you a whole story about why I think my brain, you know, acts like a computer. But that's really neither here nor there. So, the point of this video, though, god damn, I'm all over the place, but it kind of is all in the same, you know, realm, and that's kind of how I like to. That's kind of how I think, and that's kind of how I like to think. It's hard to describe, but I'm very aware of my thoughts, and I'm very aware of things like that. And I'm not bragging. I'm just saying, like, I've just put so much work into that. Like, 12 years ago, I got sober and went through treatment for a year. Like, I've been through all kinds of stuff, and I've had to question my own perspective so many times in my own life in order to adapt to situations that I'm in. And it's had such a profound effect on me that I have kind of gotten addicted to not changing, but to growing and just kind of personal growth type of thing, because that's the kind of thing that throughout my whole life there's like I really do this is something that's kind of like nobody could ever convince me otherwise of, that's true for me at least, is I think that people are happiest when they change. That's what makes people happy. And when things are stagnant, that's what makes people depressed. And I said change, and not necessarily for the better, but I think that negative things can come into people's lives, and a lot of times they're told that they're negative, but they're not necessarily negative. And there's an old story about I'm gonna completely butcher this story, so bear with me. But it's a story about a farmer, and he had a daughter, and he had a horse, and I'm gonna butcher the story. I'm just gonna literally be making it up and trying to come up with the same fucking storyline, but we'll see. So he has a daughter and a horse. Now and he doesn't have anything else. He's struggling for everything. He's working off the land, works hard, whatever. So his horse, one day he wakes up and his horse is gone. It's run off and he doesn't know where it is. And so everybody in the town comes over and it's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. This is so bad. Like, what can we do? How, like, oh my God, this is terrible. It's terrible. It's terrible." And he said, "No. How do you know this is bad? I don't know what will come of this. I haven't foreseen the future. I don't know what's going to come of this." And the people in the town are like, "Oh, like, who is this guy? Like, he loses his only horse and he doesn't even care. Like, what is this?" And so the next day, the horse that ran away had met up with a herd of other horses, and that horse brought all the other horses to this poor farmer, and now this poor farmer has a whole herd of horses, and now he's very rich, and that's kind of the point. And the real story kind of goes into 3 or 4 instances of where something seemingly bad happens initially. The townsfolk are like, up in arms, like, oh, this is so bad, I'm so sorry, like it's terrible, it's terrible. And then he's like, I don't know if it's bad, and then it ends up being good. So, like, that story doesn't mean anything to anybody, like, in a tangible way, like it, you know. But the idea behind it, I think, is very wise, and to think that, like, who knows, and then, like, and that's kind of how I came to be, like, such a hippie, I think, is because of the idea of that. And maybe a hippie or Gandhi, or I don't know what the fuck, but I'm such, like, a pacifist. I don't even want to, like, I feel bad fucking trying to rip people off, even though I have no money. Like, I don't know why I feel that way, and it's like such a strong thing. Like, I feel I would be fucking, you know, betraying my firstborn son, or, like, I don't have any kids, but betraying my firstborn son by, you know, trying to make a profit in something. And part of that is, like, I've been really desensitized to douchebags trying to get more and more money. I was one of those. I worked, I did sales and that whole thing. So, like, that's probably part of the reason why I'm sensitive to that. I don't want to go down that road again. And so, but at the same time, I need to find that balance. I know right now I'm at an extreme in that. I'm like, no, I don't want to, like, nothing. And so that's extreme. I need to find a balance where I can actually live and be independent, or be more independent, so that I can move on with my life. And yeah, I don't know. But I think there's something to be said for that, because you never know. You never know what's going to be good, and you never know what's going to be bad. I really do believe that, and I think it is, that's also a bit of a coping mechanism. So back to what I'm talking about. People and their ability to change their perspective on the world. I think some people kind of build walls, and they get some good stuff, and then they get defensive about that good stuff, and so they think, oh, I'm scared of. Excuse me, I'm just yawning. I'm tired. I'm scared of changing my perspective, because what if I change my perspective but my perspective is what got me those good things. So I don't want to just go around changing everything. So I'm not going to. And that's, I think, a healthy. Like, I wouldn't say, like, nobody should do that at all, but that is just what is blocking people, I think. And not that that's a bad thing, but it just is what it is. And so, and I think I need to kind of go a little bit more towards that direction. It's not like, I'm not saying it's bad. It's just it's kind of a survival coping mechanism. But in the place that I'm at right now, I guess I really don't have that. I don't have the, and I think that's what scares me. Like, I'm really scared of succeeding, because I've succeeded and I've lost it all every time, kind of, you know. And so one thing that really is beneficial to me is, excuse me, I shouldn't say it's beneficial, because I don't really know, but one thing that I find comfort in is the ability to be very flexible, be extremely flexible, and locking myself into a kind of a set in stone routine without having the ability to be flexible is very, like, that is the most scary thing that I could ever imagine in my, like, for me, like, that makes me not want to, like, live. Do you know what I mean? Like, if I need to do that, I literally wouldn't do that, you know. And that's like a very scary thing, and that's where, like, I totally can probably come across as entitled, or like, oh, who do you think you are, like, you don't need to work. And no, I've worked a lot. That's not the problem. It's not that I'm lazy. It's that I am, like, that shit just fucking scares the shit out of me, because that's no life. That is not a fucking life. I don't give a shit who you are or whatever. I would rather have a good life than fucking go down that road. And I feel it's a very visceral feeling for me. It's a very kind of a real thing for me. And that kind of scares me, because why am I so fucking scared of that? Like, but at the same time, is that necessarily a bad thing? Like, I need to adapt around that. Like, if that's, like, that's really my only thing is, like, I don't know, like, I need to, like, I have these things that are just, like that, like, that's, I don't know what else, that's pretty, well, another thing, I just can't be talking to people all day, every day, because it is so draining for me. Like, I'm a complete introvert, and I have done that before, and I just kind of lose who I am, you know what I mean? And it really is not, it just makes me sad. So it's just not, like, one thing about, like, there's always a positive and negative to everything. There's always a fucking downside. I gotta be honest, like, ignorance is totally bliss. There's no question in my mind. I've done a lot of serious work on myself, with professionals and, you know, etc. And I gotta say, for everything that I try to do, like, I have personal goals and personal things, and like, continually, I'm always kind of working on something on myself, in one way or another, to try to improve myself. And I've succeeded in some things, and I haven't in some, and whatever. Like, if you work, you know, you're gonna do some things. So it's not like, you know, there's no bragging to be had. You know, if you put effort into something, you'll probably, you know, get there to some extent. And so I've put quite a bit of effort into kind of self-improvement, and just becoming more aware of what I'm doing, how I'm affecting other people, and how I can, you know, live a better life. Because living a good life, like, whether you have money or not, if you're living a good life, you're happy. That's what it comes down to for me, and that's what I learned in Peru. Like, being in Peru, they didn't have money, but they were so much happier than people in North America, and it made me so sad, because it's like, we're just wrong. Like, we're just idiots. We're just fucking money hungry people who have been conditioned to think that we need to make so much money, just like many other parts of the world, and it's just useless, and it's just completely, it doesn't, it ruins it just is a waste of a life. You know, working, like, money is not, like, money doesn't bring contentment. You know, money reduces stress, which allows for happiness, but it doesn't bring contentment. It brings short-term kind of joys and all that shit. And so I'm really kind of over money. You know what I mean? Like, I really don't give a shit about money. And I wish I did, because my life would be a little bit easier. But at the same time, do I wish I gave a shit about money? I actually don't. Because I know I wouldn't be as happy as I am now. As fucking weird as that sounds, like, it's weird for me to say that, but I am kind of realizing what I do have, and the things and the positive things that I have. I need to see those things, and I can't just be always focused on the negative and trying to, you know, improve myself and improve a million things one after another, because at some point I'm just running around like a chicken with my head cut off. You know what I mean? Like, what am I actually accomplishing here? I don't know. Probably, you know, who knows? I don't, you know, who knows, right? So, so that's kind of the thing for me right now, and that's the struggle that I'm dealing with. And now, that all being said, like, all of that, you know, I'm good with. At the same time, at the end of the day, I still need to become self-sufficient, and I don't know why it seems like honestly, that shit seems like the biggest fucking mountain in my life. Like, it seems like there is so many fucking things I need to do for that, but I don't think there is. I need to just kind of take the first step and move forward, and just be aware and take it slow, and, like, you know what I mean? I get very anxious about, like, I picture myself and I'm like, okay, I have this job. Okay, then what about this? And what about that? And what about this? And what about that? Then it's like, oh fuck, I don't want to think about that. Doesn't sound good, because I'm thinking of all these anxious fucking things around that, and that's just me kind of being a bit dramatic, maybe, or I don't know what the word is, but, like, I need to tone it down on that, I think, because, and just kind of take it one step at a time. And I've really had that problem. Like, I've had that. I have that pattern kind of a lot, where I get ahead of myself, and that's really, I think, what is the problem with my thinking. And so it's funny how this fucking video, I started it wanting to talk about just my thoughts on other people changing their perspective, but I ended up quite a bit changing my own perspective and talking my own self into certain things. So I guess that's honestly the reason why I do this candid shit, is because I think a lot of people's trains of thought, like, I need to extend my train of thought. I need to allow it to keep going, and or make sure it's going in the right direction, at least, you know, because we have these blockages in our or I have this block, like these mental blocks around things, you know, and so by talking about those mental blocks, it makes me realize how absurd they are. You know what I mean? That's ultimately the point of this channel. If anybody's still listening to this, you just got the actual reason why I make these videos, is to bring to light my own train of thought as I express it, in order to evolve myself past that, because I need to evolve myself. I need to adapt, and I need to change, and I need to get out of the situation that I'm in. So this was pretty much a video of complete theoretical talk. It is 100% theory. and I'm just talking about literally nothing. And so but at the same time, there are people who will, I guarantee, will understand every word I said, and there's people who will get 30 seconds in and not really know what I'm talking about, which is perfectly fine. And it doesn't mean anybody's any better than the other person. It's just the perspective that they have, and are they willing to, are they open to a different perspective, or are they willing to listen to a different perspective? And I think that's what it comes down to. And I'm not like rationalizing like anything. I'm just saying like what I'm talking about is pretty kind of theoretical. It's pretty kind of weird. You know what I mean? So I don't really blame. You know, I don't expect like people to be all over it, because I'm not making mainstream videos. I'm not. You know, I'm intentionally not doing that. So, anyways, thank you for watching, guys. I appreciate it.